Weekly. My name is Walter Latham, and I'm joined by Michelle Sweeney McCombs, and we're your hosts. Today, we're going to talk about finance. Knowledge of basic and intermediate finance is critical to the growth and security of our Black and Brown youth. We have a subject matter expert who will share his expertise and talk about what are some of the need to knows to reach financial literacy.
Welcome, Reynolds, Verdiner. Am I pronouncing it right? I always get your
No,
name
you were
wrong.
not, but that's okay. It's you were close though. It's Verdiner.
Yes. Welcome to the Walt Weekly, Reynolds, Verdiner. How are you doing
Thank you.
today? We appreciate you
I'm
on the
well.
show today, giving your knowledge about finance. Welcome to the
I'll do my
Walt
best.
Weekly. Awesome, awesome. Okay, Walter, we can start the questions with Reynolds.
Okay, Reynolds, what do you
Yes.
consider yourself as? Where does your expertise lie, and in what domain are you in? Are you a financial analyst, financial consultant, or an investment banker?
Uh, bit of bit of an all. I've actually, but primarily I like to say that I'm a business broker. Because at the end of the day, based on all the experiences I've had over the years, I find it best to put my use towards identifying, a transaction or a project or corporate function, if you will, that would best utilize my knowledge. And I find that, well, thank God I've gotten to the point where I don't know it all, but it's a little easier after many years to identify, the best ways forward to help a client being a corporation, let's say, that might need to streamline or have the financials audited and things, and we'll go in and kind of rip it apart and put it back together so that it can be cash positive within a specific time, kind of a thing. So we could do something to that effect, or someone wishes to put together a development product for real estate, and we'd come in and underwrite that project and go out and raise the capital for them to be able to do that and stay on board until the project's completed. Or if someone wishes to uh, raise funds for a private company per se, and we'll do whatever technical aspects of that funding project, if you will, we'll get involved and do a Series A, second round, third round, if you will, to the point where we might do a reverse merger, take them to the street. That means an IPO,
Yeah,
possibly
yeah.
things
Right.
like that. So we dib and dab in all aspects of business, finances, investments,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. After many years, you just have to find your niche, and our niche is pretty much a broad stroke of an umbrella of all things business and finance.
Okay.
That's great.
What do you think that the first steps in bringing financial literacy to our young people would be?
That would be education. That would be education first and foremost. That would be guidance. That would mean that would be hopefully to have parents and to turn our youth today hopefully into parents that would have the knowledge and information so that they can properly guide, you know, their offsprings, if you will. It definitely has to start with education, because without that, you know. I hate the term inner cities. I really do. Not to politicize anything, but I've heard that a lot in the last 4 years. And, our communities that are underserved, the children don't necessarily have anyone to emulate other than who they see playing basketball or rapping on a mic, right?
All
But,
right.
but, but they need someone that is immediately to their access, who's doing something, who has accomplished quite a bit, and who can speak to these youths and let them know, what the American dream really is versus a lottery of becoming a Jay-Z or something.
Right, right. Basically, a financial mentor.
Just a
Mm-hmm.
mentor to keep them in the
Mm-hmm.
right direction, understanding how, to stay in school, and this is
Right,
what it means to maintain yourself and to be your best self and things, and obviously finance, the education should be a part of that. I mean, I can
right.
talk about this for hours. I mean, there's just so many things going on in that regard that we're taking part in as well. but we can
Right.
get into that a little later.
That's
Okay.
awesome. Have you
Okay.
always thought that way, or you realized it at a certain age yourself? Is that why it's so important to you for the youth to know, have more knowledge about finances at an early age?
That's a great question, Michelle. You've known me since I'm 15 years old.
Yes.
I was I was in the
Hmm.
music business for a long time, and I was just out and about, performing everywhere. It wasn't until a very good friend of mine who had been working in corporate America looked at me, and he knows me well. He knew me well at the time. He says, "You have an aptitude for analytics and mathematics and so forth. You should really go to Wall Street." And I
Right.
looked at him like he was crazy. Uh, and my daughter was born, and so this is back in '95, and I went to Wall
Right.
Street, and I obtained all of my licenses very quickly, and I never looked back. So it always takes, again, for someone to point you in that direction. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, at the
Yeah.
time I'm turning 30, and then I look back, did I enjoy my 20s? Absolutely. Would I take it back? No. But I knew as of 30 going forward, I had a different mission.
Right. Right. Got to change, shift.
Yeah,
Sometimes
yeah.
children helps that change as well.
Well, again, that was my daughter was my motivation. My
Hmm.
guidance was my colleague who redirected me
Right.
because he identified a certain skill set that I had that I didn't know was, uh, you know, uh, beneficial to others, and that I could
Right.
capitalize on to do well for ourselves.
That's amazing. Not too many of us have that. So,
Well, one thing I do want to add there is solution. All right.
Hmm.
And, let's just walk this back. Okay. And try to unpack
Okay.
it the best we can. Right.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. I believe that basic, the basic fundamentals of finance should be taught in the schools. How to open a bank account.
Hmm.
All right. How to
Hmm.
maintain a bank account. What's a
I
debit
agree.
balance? What's a credit balance? Okay. What's an overdraft?
Hmm.
And that's
I
the
agree.
only place I can see that exposure could be broad. Okay. And I think that that's something that should be challenged or should be on the agenda or brought to the attention of our mayoral candidates.
Here is my view on that. Um, just a quick story. Let me see how much time we have here. But I was listening to, on Instagram. It was one particular night I couldn't sleep. It had to be 2 in the morning, and I came across this, what they call this live, and this young female rapper just happened to be taking calls from other youths who just felt like, hitting on her or whatever, just whatever, try to flatter her in some ways.
Right.
And I realized how, and I hate to put my young brothers down and everything, but I was just not impressed with the linguistics. I was just not impressed with the way they
Oh no.
expressed
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was not, and it wasn't so much as far as what they say they didn't have any game or whatever. Just just shoot it at her in a way that she would be impressed. It's just their verbiage and so forth. And I was just not impressed with that at all. And of course, I always parlay everything back into financial literacy. And I thought if these young
right.
brothers couldn't articulate themselves in a certain way,
Hmm.
that doesn't necessarily mean they don't have the aptitude to learn. However, they're just not in the right path at the time. And so I decided to create a foundation called the Quality of Life Foundation. Uh, and
Okay.
what we're going to do there, I've also founded a financial technology company that we're bringing to market within the next 12 months. And so I've decided to take specific proceeds of my NOI, which is my net operating income of the fintech company, and donate it to the Quality of Life Foundation to serve specifically the underserved communities of our black and brown children. And I think that being the case, to start earlier on, to fund a lot of the local schools, to fund after school activities, to provide the computers, to provide all of the things that we know they need. Not to say that these efforts aren't being recognized today. Folks don't necessarily have to advertise and put everything on blast to get credit for it. That's not what I'm about either. So I just want to make sure that the work is being done and target specific areas across our country to make sure these hot spots are being served. Yeah. And so, when they get to a certain age, they'll have options. They'll have other things to do when they get out of school, as opposed to going and getting into who knows what. Yeah. So that's my way of giving back, because I believe it's a generational target. So if I can reach our 10 to 12 to 15-year-olds today, they can grow up to own something. They can grow up to, as you said before, Walter, understand what it is to now have a banking account,
Right.
a bank account, checking, savings, and so forth, and understanding credit, debit, and so forth, and what that's like. And so, again, it goes back to education. And further to the point that you made, I really don't want to get into politics about things. I just think it's good for the parents to be able to bring a 15, 16-year-old to a bank and open an account
Right.
for them, have a student account for them, and deposit $10 into it and explain what that means. How does this
Exactly.
work? The parents have to step in at this point to start it at home if the school, because you can't count on the schools doing it. Because in most
Right.
cases, you think about the communities that you're in, the schools are going to give you a diluted version of a subject matter, and the kids really will walk away with some broad stroke information about it, but nothing that's truly in depth. Yeah. And
Right.
so that's what you want to stay away from, and make sure that they get that information. So yeah, our foundation will be able to provide, and hopefully will make a difference, and it'll be a generational progress so that their children and so on and so forth will be better and so forth in that
But
That's
see,
regard.
that's a
fantastic.
dilemma. See, that's a dilemma for me because a lot of parents don't know how to open an account. They don't maintain checking accounts. So that's the last thing, if they even think about it, that's on their list. Okay.
Because
So
they're focused about where their next is coming from, and I understand. But you know what, it maybe comes down to a promotional campaign by some interested party. That may even be me. So they
Right.
need to know to go out and how many community universities, community colleges out there that are offering, certain things. I see it online all the time.
Right.
The Wharton Business School, Columbia Business School, they have a 10 6-week program. It may be costly, but there are grants available. They have to have the motivation to go out and get this information.
That's right.
If they know they have a responsibility to educate their youth, they have to take
Mhm.
that accountability to do that.
True.
okay.
I agree with that. I agree. I started Justin that way when he was in high school. I,
Mm-hmm.
took him to TD Bank, to open up a student account, because I didn't get financial training when I was younger, but I did have, which I like to commend you on this project that you have going on in the
Mm-hmm.
next
Thank
year
you.
or two. And we
Mm-hmm.
had that when we were younger, when I was in Coney Island. That kind of reminded me
Mm.
of being the community centers that we had growing up. They don't have community centers where they're teaching children economic values, just everyday, daily thing, mentors, reading, just everything about everyday life. I had it in my early teens. But
There you
once I
go.
moved, and then as we got older, a lot of those programs were discontinued,
Yeah.
so, my family, because we came from a large family, we didn't get financial training because my parents had too many kids, but my youngest brother got it, so he's like
Mm-hmm.
financially like the best one in the family. He knows everything
Okay.
and he's like set financially, but we didn't get that. So I'm teaching that to my son, what I didn't get. So
Oh yeah,
yes, it comes
yeah,
from home. Definitely
yeah.
comes
It
from home.
does. It does. But the unfortunate thing is that we got too many households. You know, I wouldn't say single house. I don't want to isolate the single parent
Right.
from the married, and
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't do that. All
Mm-hmm.
right, but we need. And for an example, my grandmother raised me. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and she had a grocery store. She was a businesswoman, this and that. And she only went to the second grade, but she used to give me an allowance when I worked in the store and stuff like that. But I went to the bank with a handful of pennies and dimes with a bag full and put it on the counter and say, I want to open a savings account.
Right.
There you
All
go.
right.
There
That's
you
That's
go.
good.
what I'm saying. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like
Yes.
10, 9 years old,
That's right.
you know? And due to the
Mm-hmm.
fact that I did come from a small town and they did know who I was, they opened an account for me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, the initiative, I mean, I can't say that all young people have that type of drive, but we have to let them know
Mm-hmm.
why they should have that drive. And the
Right.
only thing that I could think about on a broad base, with one broad swipe, is to try to get it into the schools. Which I mean, I agree with what you're trying to do, and I think it's a very noble effort.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Right.
all right. But in conjunction with what you're doing, I think that we need to start it at the school level in elementary. All right, what these things are: opening up an account, debit, credits, etc. And that's the best way I can say, because you got to look at it like this, and this is the way I look at it. You don't have to look at it that way. I look at it in terms of where we are, where we came from, and where we want to be. So where we are, where we were, forget about it. But in the future, wealth is power. Power transcends into influence.
Right.
Okay, I mean that's what the other side has. All right, and wealth is multi-generational. Okay, so without those fundamental things that we just spoke about, you can forget about the wealth part of it.
Yeah.
Well, we're not
I
even
mean,
looking to have wealth. It's not. I mean, it's got to be a phased infusion of and way of implementing your influence. You can't expect for someone to go from complete illiteracy to being top 10%, 1% of
right.
it's just not going to work. What we're trying to do is develop a platform where our folks can sustain themselves respectfully and be independent of others, and that's what my focus is, not necessarily to uh promise anyone the golden arches,
Riches.
if you will, that kind of a
Right.
thing. Yeah,
Right.
you know what I mean.
Got
that's
to get
that's
them
that's not
started.
it at
Yeah.
all. That's not at all. We
Okay,
just want people to be educated. We want them to be in a position to um again maintain and pass that forward and pay that forward to their own offspring, to the point where our community won't be regarded as inner city or the underprivileged, underbanked, underserved, these
or the
Right.
these
backwoods.
type.
Right,
Right.
right.
That is just, to me, a massive insult, and it's like we don't necessarily have to sit back and take that.
Right. Right.
I think for any and every one of I hate to say us, but who know better, who is in a position to contribute in some way, that we have that responsibility to do that. And because if we all continue to pay it forward, those of us who are fortunate enough to have been taught to be in the position that we're in today will yield that blessing to someone else. And I don't even have to know them. I've done this all the time. I could be anywhere and I see a youth behaving in a certain way, carrying himself in a certain way that's unbecoming, and I drop my 2 cents. My wife tells me all the time, it's great that you do that, but these folks are not really hearing you. We have to find a bigger, a platform, an umbrella, a banner, a flag of some sort that we can attract them to come to. She wants to
Right.
improve the effort, and I said sometimes it's just a street corner conversation,
Right.
Right,
and
Right.
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 I'm not above that. I'm not
Yeah.
above that because it
Right.
really bothers me. It really bothers me. So
Definitely.
that's why
Definitely.
we created the foundation. And to your point, Walt, the foundation, our focus it does start at the elementary school level, to see to it that these
Right.
programs are implemented and they have all of the technological advances that have been happening, so that they're aware of what these things are and where they can go and what they can do.
Right.
Okay.
The best thing you can
Yeah.
do to a child is the best thing you can do to a child is raise the ceiling.
Yeah. Definitely. Education
Yeah,
is
I agree.
key.
No, I agree
You
with
know,
that. I
that's where
In
it
definitely
all
agree.
starts.
aspects. In all
Definitely.
aspects.
hmm I
Okay.
definitely agree with that. Yes.
All right. Now, to go back to in what I had
Uh-huh.
mentioned about wealth generation.
Okay.
Okay, in terms of our financial wealth in comparison to other groups, we at the
Okay.
bottom of the ladder. We own more in 1960 than we do now. I mean,
Well,
so
Right.
again, I wish I was well versed in historical data. I'm sure that's the case. But I don't like the fact that the stock market, for example, is we as a community basically don't exist there. Uh,
Right.
and I tell you what I'm happy to see, and I don't want to deviate from the subject matter that you're saying there, Walter, but I'm happy to see an inclusion of minorities represented in a lot of these television financial programs. Because
Yes.
we're out there. I'm here. I'm one of them. I could be on any of those shows at any given day. I've gotten calls and I turn these things down because it's just a personal preference. But I'm just
Right.
happy to see that the inclusion is happening. The
Hmm.
recognition has started, and
Right.
due to the events that have transpired in the past year. But uh,
Yeah.
we would have that financial literacy we just talked about, that again starts at the beginning, will ultimately get us there to where we have a stronger presence in the market.
Right. Right.
Oh yeah, well
Definitely.
that's a necessary step progression. That's a progression. Okay,
Hmm.
I mean, you
Hmm.
start with the banking and this and that, then you gradually move up to okay, I need to invest in the market for the long term. If you got a long term horizon, and a young person should have a long term horizon, you do a little
Hmm.
do your research. There are a couple ways that you can trade. You can do technical trading, which I do,
Hmm.
or you can
Hmm.
do the long term horizon type thing and do your research. All right.
Hmm.
If you do your research on the company,
Hmm.
then invest in it. But just
Right.
don't throw your money out there and expect returns.
Right.
I mean,
Hmm.
if
Exactly.
you get some tips that they can get by the SEC, then yeah, okay, fine, all right.
Hmm.
But you do have to go back to that underlying foundation of what is money, how can I use money, and which is in my best interest, okay,
Hmm.
and minimize your risk. But now we're graduating towards investment strategies. Okay, so I did not want to go that far, but since we're there,
Well, I can
you know,
help you with that if you don't want to
yeah,
get to that point.
yeah. I mean, yeah, you can help me with that. Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
the way I mean that statement is such that we don't necessarily have to get too technical to that degree at that level. Uh, there are other ways, because to be in the market, you really would have to be in a position of being in a certain income bracket, in my view,
Hmm.
to have sufficient what we call discretionary funds to be able to put there and things, and hope to make more money in the market. But there are other ways that won't require for you to have an overwhelming amount of liquidity to build asset base and own things. And believe it or not, that's in real estate.
Right.
You have a lot of folks that are out here jumping into the terminology of buying, fixing, and flipping and so forth without really delving into the fundamental definition of what that means, and the grind that it takes to do that. But that's easily learned. Yeah, you can put
Right.
together a group of your closest colleagues and create what we call a limited liability corporation, an LLC, and where everyone contributes a specific dollar value so you can have something to work with and walk around the neighborhood and pick something up and have enough
Right.
liquidity to buy it and fix it, if you will, and then and have a relationship with a real estate firm that will sell it for you, thereby realizing a small profit, and you do it again and you do it again. And that's how these things start. And at
Yes.
some point you will have the liquidity to go into the stock market, because that stock market is not for everybody.
True.
I agree,
True.
but
And I
I
just
have
I just
several.
started dabbling that uh
Hmm.
2020. I just started dabbling into the stock market, but as
Because
you
it's
spoke of
popular, a lot of
earlier,
folks are
it's
coming in,
popular,
so
right,
yeah.
right, and long term for me. I'm not doing day trading or anything like that.
Right. I
My
mean,
yeah.
the long term.
Hmm.
No, but I agree with you. I do
Hmm.
agree with you on flipping, but I do agree that real estate trust is a good investment. I mean, if you do your research
Right,
properly, you can get into ETFs and things like that that focus on real
Hmm.
estate trust, but you want a broad
Hmm.
basket. You don't want to put everything in one basket.
right,
Right,
All
but
right.
thereby going back to the point I was making before, what kind of an investment value are you making? You know what I mean?
hmm,
Are you putting in $2,000? I mean, it's just like watching
Nah,
paint dry,
nah, no, no.
right?
You don't want to do
right,
that. No,
You
you
see
don't
what
want
I'm
to do
saying?
that. Yeah, no, no, no. You're not going to want to do that. Now, unless you go to the pink sheets or something like that, and then you find something that blows up for you.
It's very speculative. The pink
You know
sheets
what I
and
mean?
things.
Yeah. Well, I heard a commercial the other day. It said, "No
Uh-huh.
risk it, no risk it, no biscuit." You know what I mean? So
No,
I
no, no,
mean,
no.
I got some. I mean,
You want to stay.
I delve in the pink sheets. I do. I
No,
mean, I'm not
man,
gonna lie,
but that's not
but I don't.
forever. That really is spec. These
Right.
But
companies don't have. These companies on pink sheets don't even report to the SEC. You know
no,
what I
they
mean? This
don't.
is
No, they
complete
I don't
do.
gamble.
know.
That's a gamble. That's not investing, brother. That's
But
gambling.
I'm not encouraging people to do that.
Oh, okay,
All
okay. I
right,
just
don't
want to
get
be
me
clear. All
wrong. All right, I will
right.
not
Okay,
encourage people to do that.
okay.
Because I have managed funds, and I'm not going to say
Mm-hmm.
I. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
there are managed funds, and
Mm-hmm.
there are, let's say, E-Trade, TD Trade, where you have a couple $1,000 or you have 100,000 to be a day trader. I think you
Okay.
need assets of 200,000. Correct me if I'm wrong, or 100,000.
You can have a lot less than that.
Right.
Yeah.
All
Right.
right.
Chris was a day
And
Right.
trader.
then you have the
Hmm.
fractional, where you can invest fractionally. You can take, percentage of your money and invest. You don't have to
Right.
buy like, Tesla. You know what I mean? You can do
Mm-hmm.
fractional ones.
You could do
Okay.
fractions,
Okay.
yes. Hmm.
Right. So what I'm saying is that you can, dibble dabble here and there, but you need to go into the market. All right. You need to go in for the long term because a lot of people got rich by holding for the long
Right.
term.
Right.
All right.
Well, rich is a very relative term, right? And then the time factor that they've invested in holding these positions, that intrinsic time value is costly too. So if you factor all that in, I promise you they'd be in a position where they would ordinarily be expected to be anyway. You have to
Hmm.
understand when someone diversifies a portfolio, there's specific percentages that go into different types of risk assessed
Hmm.
investment vehicles, if you will. There's a
Right.
certain percentage that goes into bonds and things that gives you a specific type yield based on its rating.
Right.
Then
Right.
you
Right.
get into the equities that would be some are more speculative than others.
Hmm.
Given the person's age and their suitability and the things that you'd be able to, without getting in trouble, to get them
Right.
involved into. So you have a well diverse portfolio, not to mention maintaining a 15+% cash position, right? Uh,
Right.
Right.
and so that is investing.
Hmm.
But to your point, Walt, you can have a nice diverse portfolio structured like that. And then you look around, no one is looking. You grab your back pocket, you get 20 grand, you go to E-Trade and you start buying pink sheets like you, right?
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. That's what I'm saying. I mean, you got some money to
Right.
play with.
But I
You
promise
do
you,
that. You know.
you're going to have fun. But I got to tell you, man, I've not seen in all my years of doing this, I have not seen anyone come back to me and say, "Look, man, I've been able to make 1,000% for the last 6 months on this. It's just not realistic expectation."
Right.
And when it doesn't happen, you had a good time. Like I forget this actor's name, Billy Crystal. He said, "You lost your
Hmm.
money, but you had fun."
Right.
But
Now,
can I tell a story? This reminds me of a
yeah.
story, and I love
Oh,
telling the stories. I play golf
okay.
with a guy
Okay.
occasionally. The guy's 89 years old, white guy,
Wow.
well
Wow.
to do.
Okay.
He likes me, right? So we've been
Okay.
playing for a few years.
Do you
So he
like him
gave
though?
me a tip, all right, on a penny stock.
Okay.
All right, he said, yeah, well, you need to get this one. I said, oh, okay, this is going to be big, man. I got like 5 million, shares. Okay, all
Okay.
right. So
Hmm.
I bought that penny stock 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
The daggone thing goes up, and I don't want to sell it. Then it comes back down. It goes
Right.
up. I don't want to sell it. Then it comes back down. But the
Mm-hmm.
mere fact that these short traders are coming in every day at the end of the day
Right.
and making their money, and there's no short squeeze in the future. And I hate to get into very technical terms about this.
That's okay.
I have to
That's okay.
apologize to my audience, right?
Hmm.
But they're trying to catch these guys that are shorting this stock, all right, in a short squeeze. And a short
Okay.
squeeze meaning, when you short, you're selling something that you don't own. You know that.
Well, they're just
All right.
betting to bring the price down. But if I may, just I'm not
All right, no, but
license
let me
to
just
give
then you
offer
can correct
advice
me
here, but
because I mean, this is your area of expertise. Me, I'm a
okay,
novice. Okay.
okay.
All right. So when you short a stock and you're selling something, a position that you haven't really paid for. All right. Okay. So if that stock goes up, then you're gonna get a call. Everybody remember what was that Eddie Murphy movie where they
Trading
shorted on the
places, trading
commodity?
Trading
places.
places.
Yeah, trading
Mhm.
places where they shorted this stock and
Just
they
for the
made all
orange
this
juice
money.
futures and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
on the futures
Right.
market.
Hmm.
Yeah, commodities. So that's the thing. They're trying to catch them in a short squeeze. All right. Even though the stock may be worth 12 cents a share, and
Hmm.
because they've been shorted so much, if that stock
Mhm.
hits, let's say 50 cents a share, these guys that are shorted the stock are going to have to go out and start selling assets because they're going to get called.
Mm.
Well, what happens is if the stock goes up that high, they'll probably be excised out at that point anyway, because that's like a 400% run. But the point is, if you buy, even if it's a penny stock, again, I'm not licensed to be offering investment advice here.
No, I
Just
wouldn't want you
full
to. No, no,
disclosure,
don't
right?
do
All
that.
right,
No,
cool.
no, I'm
But
just throwing out
generally, I'm just
theories here.
saying, generally speaking, if you get into a position
Mhm.
and the position has performed well for you specifically in a time certain, what you want to do is you're always going to get your principal investment off that table, right?
Mhm.
If I invest 50 grand into a position and I don't know, I get lucky with a GameStop, let's say, and this thing flies off the handle. First thing I want to do is get my 50 grand off the table. Maybe I get some profits off that too. Minor taxable event, but that's okay. And the
Right.
the rest of it is not necessarily gambling, but you're leaving, your share of profit to ride whatever happens next. And but you principally haven't lost anything, And so that's
Right.
what you should have, in my view, that's what I would have done in your position. But again, but to bring that back to the focus of what we started talking about is I really would like to see a lot of activity with our young brothers in the marketplace.
Great, great.
Right.
My own daughter is at university, which shall not be mentioned what's name, but at a business
Mhm.
school, and she's absolutely fascinated by it. She loves it because she hears me on the phone every day,
Right.
and so I think it starts there. And I practice what I preach, that parents, if they don't know, educate yourself, because you have a responsibility to direct your children in the right place so that
Right.
their future can be solid as best as possible, a good foundation.
Right.
And do try our best to reach the youth directly ourselves and things. And so
Exactly.
I'm
Exactly.
a big advocate for that. So whoever, I'm sure you have great listeners listening in who may have access and so forth, and they should be calling in as well, and offer their expertise and so forth, and donate some time and teach some kids,
Yeah,
things
we're
like
going to be
that.
doing some webinars, and I tell you, Reynolds, I don't know
Yeah.
whether I know you're a very extremely busy person, but hopefully in the future, and it's in the
Hmm.
next third quarter, we want to be
Yeah.
doing some live webinars where
Okay.
we can invite folks like yourself to address our audience. All
Okay.
right. I mean, you can come in one day and just do one particular segment because as you said, the market is big. But before
Yeah.
I stray away and forget this question,
Sure.
what would you recommend? Day trading,
Yeah.
technical
Yeah.
trading, or the old-fashioned way? What would you recommend? And
Day trading,
that's not a rich question.
technical technical trading is primarily what day traders do, because they're not trading on fundamentals, eh? The
Right,
Mhm.
technical trading, you're looking at patterns and so forth, and
right,
uh, you know I don't want to get too technical here, but that's what they do. When you say the old-fashioned way, you probably mean doing your research and whether or not
right,
company has a
Right.
strong balance
right.
sheet, they have
Right.
strong cash flows, cash on deposit. I mean,
Yeah,
those are the things that I think would be well served to have these things in your book, in your portfolio. There's
Mhm.
also certain companies that are what we call seasonal or cyclical, if you will. Certain times of year, certain companies do well. We've just experienced that this was a cyclical type of an atmosphere that was imposed on us that we certainly did not ask for with this pandemic. And all of a sudden, all of the online type companies, they did really, really well.
Right.
And if you look now that we're coming out of this nightmare, these same companies have now been giving up a lot of that profit, and the company valuation are being cut in half. And so you really have to know what you're doing. So with respect to which trading you might think is best, is truly up to your suitability, how old you are, what your objective is at that time, which
And
again,
your risk tolerance above
your
all.
risk
Your risk
tolerance is
tolerance,
based, that's
For
based on
sure.
how old you are.
Yeah.
Me and
Right.
I'm in
Right.
at my age, I'm not speculating on anything, because I work hard for my money, so I just want to make sure, and I have children and things, and so we still have things to continue to set up for them and so forth, and teach them now, so that when that day comes, they can just pick up the flag and keep running with it because they know how.
Right.
So yeah, just be in a position to hopefully, we want the kids to be in a position to understand how certain things work, from the basic preliminary details to the most advanced and intricate and complex type strategies of how to do things,
Right.
and just own. The best asset we can own is right now is real estate. And like I said before, put together an LLC. If you have 10% of the money you need, find 9 other people to do it with you, and there you have the money, and
Right.
start to buy assets. You don't have to flip it. You could just, put the LLC together, have your deposit, buy the property, 4 or 5 family, whatever, fix it, put all your hands in on all hands on deck, if you will, get it
Right.
done, and go to the bank, go to HUD and refinance it, and have the rent pay the mortgage. Now you own an asset, right? I mean, there's so many
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
things that
Right.
can
Definitely.
be
Definitely. I
done,
agree with you. Yes.
and just start to build a portfolio of just things that you own, so you don't have to answer to demand and be totally dependent on what the government is offering you or not.
Exactly.
I can't, think
Yeah.
that way.
You're always going to win with real estate.
Well,
Well,
I
I'm just
picked up
saying
some
there's just
tips
too
on
many
that.
other opportunities that you can get
Yeah.
involved in,
Hmm.
to make things. In short story, I heard a brother say, and I'm not gonna say the show, but I heard him say something. It was just atrocious. You gotta put, if you have $11,000, you could put it in this particular vehicle, and it's just turn into $1 million in 6 weeks or 6 years. I think it was 6 years or whatever. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. What are
Idiot.
you talking
Yeah.
about, man? You can't
Right.
go on public platforms and give people pipe dreams and things like that. It's just
Right.
not worth it. You got to be
Yeah. Well, you got a
realistic.
lot of, suckers born every day, right?
Right. I was going to say, he
Yeah.
probably has an
Well,
audience.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I'm sure the brother meant well, but you just got to be
Yeah.
careful on how
Just
you
gave wrong
phrase
info.
things and you put
Hmm.
things out
That's
there.
true. That's true.
Yeah. But I do believe that, if you don't do the research, you don't do the hard work, depending on the type of trading that you do, depending, you got to look at risk mitigation. I think that's the most
Hmm.
important thing. How much are you
Yes.
willing to lose? Any investment, you got to
Hmm.
understand, okay, what am I willing to lose here? Okay.
Right.
The maximum amount that I'm willing to lose.
Hmm.
Okay. And then you go from there.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
That's the way you invest.
True.
That's
True.
correct.
You're right. So, Reynolds, I don't mean to cut
Back
you
in the
off.
day,
Hmm.
when we were managing portfolios and things, you have the use. Again, we're getting way ahead of ourselves with technical stuff, but there are ways to use call and put options and things to secure an equity position.
Hmm.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about
And
that.
yeah, that way you mitigate, the maximum loss, if you will, but you just have to be happy to be excised out of a position when you're called, and with nominal profit, that's worth it, things like that.
Right.
But
Yeah. Those are
Right.
leveraging techniques. Yeah. I understand. I understand. I think,
True. True.
but to go to my audience, like you said, I think that we are going a little bit more technical than we wanted to when we started out.
Yes.
hmm
All right. And, Reynolds,
I think that's what you wanted to talk about. Well, to be honest, I think that's where you wanted to take it. That's on
I
you,
mean, we got
man.
some sophisticated users. I mean, listeners rather.
I'm sure you do.
But
That's on
I,
you, brother. I leave that on you.
I need you to come back, Rose. And
Definitely. Yes.
but we
Yes.
need,
That would
but
be good.
one thing we do need to do is,
hmm
this is all. This is not being recorded. I'm gonna cut this part. Okay.
Okay.
Uh, we do need to talk about, which is the best way to approach it, because, finance is such a broad topic, man. You can be,
Right.
I mean, it's very, very broad.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It's just like saying, okay, I'm going to talk about science today. I mean, damn, there's a lot of different, sciences,
Mm-hmm.
from
Mm-hmm.
astronomy to mathematics. So,
Right.
Yeah.
we do need to, and I hope that you'll work with us in trying to put together a webinar where we can, just start and with the elementary level, the most fundamental level, because without that, I don't think that we will survive as a race. I don't think we will. I really don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Well,
my feeling.
I have some faith, in that happening. The way in which we come out on the other side is subject to the extent of your effort. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the more pristine and the more focused and targeted your effort,
Hmm.
I think that you higher probability of the desired outcome. And for me, again, I go back to the root of educating the youth and providing the schools
Hmm.
with the tools and the funds so that they can have these extra school activities and things. My school ended at 3 o'clock. I didn't get home till 7 because I was always involved in something.
Yes. Hmm.
So and that might explain the early knowledge that was bestowed on me
Right.
to allow me to have the aptitude for someone like my friend Paul to be able to identify, because he'd already been exposed, to say this would be great for you, and I owe him a
Hmm.
great deal of gratitude for that. And so
Okay.
it really is. It really, it's just, I hate to be redundant, but it really
No.
has to start there. And I'm willing to put an insane, obscene amount of money
Hmm.
into that effort, even if it is for one community. But we'd like for this to be nationwide. When we're ready, I
Awesome.
think another year or two, we'll be in a position to start that.
Well, that's another excuse.
Fantastic.
That's another excuse for you to come on, another justification rather, for you to come on and talk about,
Yeah,
what you want to do with that.
the Quality
So,
of Life Foundation. Yeah,
yeah, the
Okay.
Quality of Life Foundation.
We love that. We
yeah.
love to have you back on there
I
when we
love
get
that.
that started. Hmm.
And I
Um,
mean, I know you can pull it off.
Thank
yes,
you.
definitely. Okay. Well, we pushed up over the time frame, so it's 12:55 right now. Well, Reynolds, we know you have to get ready for another
Yeah, 1 o'clock in
call.
5 minutes.
I
These
Yes.
things are
enjoyed
So
never
it.
on time, so no worries.
I enjoyed it, Reynolds. I enjoyed it.
we
Well,
appreciate
thank
it.
It's
you.
Yeah.
very
Thank you. I'm
nice.
glad
I
to be
really
on, man.
appreciate you coming on, man.
No, likewise. I'm glad I'm
Yes.
All
here.
right. And I want you back. I will just rely on Michelle to get you back. All right.
All right, here we go.
Different
Michael
format.
Jackson. No, I'm with you,
Yeah.
man. Well, whatever you want to talk about, I'm game. It's cool.
I appreciate that,
Awesome.
man. Thank you. You
All
have a
Thank
right.
you,
nice rest
Reynolds.
of your day.
Thank you, guys. Same to
Awesome.
you.
All
Bye,
right. Bye
Michelle.
bye.
Okay. Thank you,
Talk to
brother.
you.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
All right.